What's up, Dynasty Warriors? This is your El Commissionado coming at you semi-live, I guess video live to you, for your first ever rendition of the video recap for Dynasty Warriors that we're introducing here in year 6. Full transparency, this is my first recap I'm doing live. I usually spend a lot of time digging into the game and analyzing all of the stats and looking into some things, but I will try and keep it short, sweet, and to the point. This is really in an effort to save me a little bit of time. As you know, I got a little baby at home, and as Brett probably is faced with, time is of the essence, and so my opportunity to get with you all and get in front of you and explain some of my feelings on the teams and have some fun with it. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the game of the week. Based off of the points, it was the closest game of the week, and it took place between Brett and Mike, two teams returning with the same team names from previous years. Watch what you Saquon, of course. Mike with Saquon Barkley and Mr. Rogers' neighborhood with Aaron Rodgers sitting down and balling out. So, these two teams, quarterbacks from across the field last Thursday night between Mitchell Trubisky, a.k.a. Mr. Biscuit, and Aaron Rodgers, a.k.a. 70s porn star. There were not a lot of fireworks. We probably could have expected a little bit more out of that game, but kind of fell flat, and wasn't really anything that we could have done. Just kind of wasn't a great start to the season for either team, but we'll see where we go from here. So not a lot of fireworks. Mitchell Trubisky put up 8.2 points with Aaron Rodgers putting up 12.9. Looking over to Mike's side of the game, highest scorer came in. Actually, Derrick Henry came in with 29.9 points, which is a pretty almost 16 points higher than he was projected. And then you had Tom Brady come in with 29 points, really leading the way for him. He didn't get a lot out of O.J. Howard in the tight end position. And obviously it looks like 5 players scored in single digits. But let me tell you, man, Harrison Butker coming through with 17 points really was the game changer in this. On Brett's side of the coin, Aaron Rodgers, 12.9, Chris Carson, 18.1 points, and Josh Jacobs, really the rookie, he definitely got the better of the first 2 picks in this one. Josh Jacobs put up 23.3 points leading. And interestingly enough, Austin Eckler was on Brett's bench, and Brett also did not start a quarterback in the offensive position slot, and actually played out to his benefit. The other quarterback on his bench, obviously Derek Carr, only put up 14 points. So Josh Jacobs got the better, although Brett did come up short by about 3.2 points to be exact. Mike got the better of Brett at a final score of 133.6 to 130. So both of these teams really in good shape. Both put up pretty good numbers, and that stuff's going to come out in the wash. And both of these teams, look for them both to be competitive. Moving now into Eric versus Jake. Both coming in with new team names. We got Shaken Bakers and Connor and Company. And this one was only separated by 5.6 points. Also a really close one. A lot of close games. Every team scored over 100 points this week, which was big. So looking into this one a little bit, Phillip Rivers looks like he led the way for Jake, 27.9 points, with T.Y. Hilton putting up 20 points, which was a really good showing for him. On Eric's side of the ball, Baker Mayfield, his keeper, he kept Kerryon Johnson and Baker Mayfield, and both of those guys put up duds. Baker Mayfield just might not be good at football. Kerryon Johnson, more to be revealed on that one, but he's just not didn't put up a lot of points, 9.4 and 6.2 points respectively. Mark Ingram, though, looks like he has found a good situation in Baltimore, and Baltimore looks like they may have solved their running back problem. Looks like he put up 24.7 points, and man, I really need those glasses. There's a little bit of a glare, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. And then Evan Ingram, huge tight end, who looks to be just an absolute. I mean, if this was PPR, this guy's got a monster game, but he had 19.6 points. Kirk Cousins came in at 14.3 points, and ultimately the end of this score was 124 to 118.4, with obviously Jake leading the way on that. Really not a whole bunch on the bench there, except for obviously Marcus Mariota. If you take a look at this, 26.3 points, and you have to wonder if he's turning a corner, but I guess you really don't know. The other one is Eric looks like he's found two really good tight ends in Mark Andrews and Evan Ingram. He looks like he's got a pretty good 1-2 punch, potentially some trade capital there to move forward with. And then the other one is he lost Tevin Coleman, and lost Tevin Coleman this week, and then we'll see what happens there. The flip side of that is really not a lot on Jake's bench that's really to talk about at this point. But again, week one, it's hard to really read too much into it, but that's where we're at with that one. I'm going to move into Team Decent versus Team Flynn. Team Flynn is always been Team Flynn. We know that's Steve, Team Original Name, as we may call him. And then Andy Clodfelter, Team Decent. Okay, now see, I'm looking at the names now this time, guys, and it's the first time looking at them. So now I'm putting some names to some faces, I guess. Andy had just his last minute trade for Carson Wentz. Man, that thing really paid off. Eric's probably really upset about that trade right now. 31 points for Carson Wentz, 30 points from Deshaun Watson. Really, that put Andy in a position to really succeed. He lost Tyreek Hill for, I think they're talking 4 to 6 weeks, potentially longer. He only got him 2.1 points. That's a tough loss. Jared Cook only put up 3.7. Got really good running back play, though, 19.7 from D. Johnson and 16.9 from Kamara. So looks to be in good shape there. On the bench, really not a whole lot to write home about. Old John Brown up in Buffalo, putting up 20.3 points. I mean, that guy might be a great bench stash for Andy come bye week. And then Justin Jackson actually 6.1 points on the bench, but actually to be able to get involved in that offense will be good for him. So he's going to get some play and could be a really good handcuff if Melvin Gordon doesn't come back, and if anything happens to Austin Eckler. So we'll see where we go from there. Team Flynn traded for Chubb Love, and that didn't pay off. 8.5 points. Looks like he may or may not be the goal line guy. We watched their backup. I don't even remember his name, but I'm a Chubb owner myself, and I just got so pissed when I saw that dude in there, and whoever that Jagoff is. But Marlon Mack really surprising a lot of people. Maybe not Steve, but 29.4 points leading the way for him. Matty Ice, even though he was pretty much shut out for most of the game, put up 20.6 points, pretty respectable numbers for a poor showing on offense. But ultimately, Steve just came up short. I mean, Robbie Anderson, Odell Beckham, George Kittle, I mean, these guys didn't have big games. Without the lack of touchdown production, yards don't always mean anything in that position. So ultimately, Team Decent came out on top. Andy over Team Flynn, 130.6 to 100.6, a 30-point spread there. But again, week one guys continue to play the lineups, and everything will be all right. Let's see here. All right, moving on to Kyle versus Brian. Um, this is an interesting one. Brian left Sammy Watkins 42.8 points on his bench, along with Matthew Stafford at a whopping 30.6 points. So this is a game that could have been vastly different. You can't necessarily predict the injury to Tyreek Hill, and you can't predict Sammy Watkins going off like that. But I guarantee I would be surprised if Sammy Watkins was not in Brian's lineup this next week against myself. Jared Goff, the guy who Brian traded for last year from me, only put up 9.4 points. I've never been a huge fan of Goff. Brian really wanted him last year, and so he got him, and it didn't really pan out this week. But Lev Bell, Brian was stuck with him all last year. He put up 17.2 points, which is really a good showing. He's a guy. He might just be a really good running back, and all of the comments about, he was only as good of that because of the Steelers, that may all be trash. He may be really actually something up there in New York, but to be determined on that. Let's see, DeAndre Hopkins, 25.1 points, a pretty greght showing. And then for some reason, Brian started Jacoby Brissett against the Chargers. He got 16.5 points, but it's just a head scratcher. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is kind of bottom of the barrel quarterback, and you really shouldn't even be rostered. But you're going to leave Stafford off on your bench and play Brissett. I mean, you're going to get cute. Could have made the difference in this one. Looking over to Kyle, Big Ben also didn't do him any favors. Big Ben may be missing Antonio Brown a little bit, and maybe some Lev Bell. Damian Williams actually put up decent numbers. We'll wait to see what the LaShawn McCoy, how that shakes out there. And then Kyler Murray, the rookie, coming in, 23.6 points. Calamari, if you would. I was actually really looking at drafting Kyler Murray, and Kyle snagged him right before I was planning to take him. So I hope he pans out for you, because I think he's going to be a great quarterback, and definitely a great fantasy asset. So let's see here. Yeah, so mentioning the Sammy Watkins and the Matthew Stafford, man, that really killed Brian. Brian ended up losing this thing by just under 18 points. Obviously the Antonio Brown fiasco really kind of just sucked for him, but I think Antonio Brown landed on his feet in New England. Except for now, we're looking at seeing these rape allegations, sexual assault allegations against him. Reports out of today said he's going to be playing. He was practicing, so potentially could be playing this week. But just an unlucky trade for him. So I feel for you, Brian, but thanks for shipping over Mike Evans, who did me no favors this week. So, and I think Kyle's actually in a really good spot now that he owns LaShawn McCoy as well, who actually surprisingly put up nine points this week, 9.3. So definitely could have been bigger for Damian Williams potentially, but even having LaShawn McCoy, those are two guys you could potentially put in, and I'm pretty sure they're both going to produce offensively. So final score in this one, Kyle 130.3, Brian 112.4. So, and finally, I'm going to go ahead and review the matchup between my brother and I. Randy and I faced off this week actually in 2 leagues. Randy got the better of me in both of them. I actually also lost Tyreek Hill and Tevin Coleman in the league that I lost it. The other league that I lost to him in, Brett's league, and actually was kind of in it in both of these leagues. Thankfully, this week for me, my high score was Lamar Jackson, L. Jax. Gonna throw some love out to Andy, who during draft day I said, "Hey, what do you think about these two quarterbacks?" And he said, "Yeah, I think they're pretty good." they're a good play. And so pulling out Lamar Jackson, I knew he was going to be good, but I was expecting big numbers on the ground from his legs, and surprisingly, he didn't really pick up too much. I think he only had like 3 or 4 rushes or something like that. So, and then Drew Brees put up his 22.8 points, which I think is kind of the status quo for him. He really doesn't do a whole bunch beyond that. I mean, occasionally he'll crack the 30s, but old consistency, if you would. And then I got 16 from the Vikings, 20 points from Keenan Allen, one of my keepers, and Mike Evans was a dud at 2.8 points. David Montgomery for me, 4.5 points. No idea why Matt Nagy went away from the run. No idea why Matt Nagy took David Montgomery out. Really frustrated to hear reports this week that it's going to take some time and that he's not going to give Montgomery more carries because of their complex offense. And, I think Matt Nagy is just a fucking tool. He needs to run the plays and pick up the yards. And David Montgomery was clearly the best running back on the field on Thursday night. So really a head scratcher there. Didn't really get any love from Fairburn, and 4 points looks like I got from him. So really just a good showing for me on a lot of levels, but Joe Mixon injury and the Mike Evans duds really hurt me. Joe Mixon, lost him. He only put up 1.7 points. We'll see where we go from there. If I'm going to get if he'll be back this week. Otherwise, we'll see how my lineup shakes out. For Randy, Dak Prescott is. I bet Mike is really wishing he kept Dak Prescott. I actually told Mike to keep Dak Prescott over Mitchell Trubisky, but fandom got in the way, I think, of that one. Probably in the same way it got in the way of me taking David Montgomery over Josh Jacobs. I'll probably forever regret that decision. Christian McCaffrey, 34.9 points, just an absolute monster. The dude can ball out. Sony Michel, 1.4, a complete dud. Especially in a game where the offense put up 33 points. And then Mahomes is, put up 32 points. Randy's got he's got a top tier running back. He's got some solid wide receivers, and his 2 quarterbacks are top notch. So Randy's bench really didn't do a whole bunch on that end. My bench, on the other hand, Andy Dalton put up 26 points. Alshon Jeffrey put up 17, and Carlos Hyde, guys. I took Carlos Hyde in all 4 leagues, and the last one I drafted in, Brett said you're either going to look like a genius or a complete dumbass, and I think at this point I'm looking like a genius. I mean, he had 85 yards, 83 rushing yards, 2 yards, 1 catch for 2 yards, and 8.5 out of Carlos Hyde. I think he's going to be the goal line back in that offense. I think he's going to be short yardage, and I definitely think he's going to have a role. And he looked good. I mean, he looked real good in that game. So final score in this one, Randy tops Nick 131.9 to 123.5. A tough loss, but I think I'm in good shape as long as I can stay healthy, and as long as David Montgomery gets some touches. I think I'll be able to hopefully avoid any major setbacks by losing Joe Mixon. So that's week 1. Again, 5-5. If you won, you're all tied for the division lead. Congratulations. If you lost, you're all tied for last place. Congratulations. It really doesn't mean anything. Looking ahead to week 2, Nick and Brian face off. Currently, Nick is slotted and projected at 120 points, and Brian is slotted and projected at 109.5. So that'll be an interesting matchup. 2 rivals that go way back, 2 good friends that go way back. But a lot of heated discussion there, and the Antonio Brown trade could or could not prove pivotal in all of this. Nick basically traded Antonio Brown for Mike Evans and Zach Ertz. So we'll see how that all shakes out this week. Next, you have Eric facing off against Mike. Mike is currently favored 120.8 to 114.5, and then you have Randy versus Andy in this one, 124.6 to 120.6, so a really close game there. Two great quarterbacks squaring off, and some great running backs squaring off as well, so that'll be a fun one to watch. Then actually what I'm going to tag here as my game of the week is Team Flynn, Steve versus Brett. They're separated currently in projections by 0.2 points, so 122.7 for Brett and 122.9 for Steve. I'm going to tag that as my game of the week, and we'll keep an eye on that one as that unfolds. And then finally we bring up Kyle versus Jake. Jake is heavily favored in this one, although Kyle has one player short, so we'll have to wait and go in and look and see who he's going to probably slot in here. Let me take a quick look. And looks like he has a defense, special teams to slot in. So, we'll see where that lands. But again, it's 1 week. Our teams are who we thought they were. We'll see where they land. Currently, just in the pot for any trade fees that may come, points for. Mike is leading the way with 133.1, followed by Randy and Brett, who are separated by 1.5 points. And include Kyle in that. 1.6 points separates the top two. And then Team Flynn and Brian are down at the bottom at 9 and 10. So it'll be a fun week. Good luck in week 2, everybody. I promise to put together better content moving forward around this. Again, this was my first time, and I wanted to get something out before games kicked off tomorrow. So hope you all enjoy the night. Bear down, and good luck in week 2. Take care, guys.